Moving on to question 4. Hopefully this is a little bit more exciting than question 2 and 3. We have molten sodium metal. Molten sodium. So if it says sodium metal, it means elemental sodium. Molten is just mean that it's liquid. Can be produced from molten sodium chloride. Now, when you study electrolysis later, you're going to see this reaction. That was a terrible mistake. It's supposed to be liquid again. According to the following equation. So if you melt sodium chloride, you have molten sodium chloride and you apply some electricity to it, you'll be able to make molten sodium and some chlorine gas. The principle of this reaction is not the focus of this question, but it is a very fascinating reaction that we're going to look at later. All right, what do you need to do? Calculate the mass of chlorine gas. All right, so it's a little bit more interesting here. You need to find the mass, not the mole of chlorine gas. So I need m. Small m is the symbol for mass. That would be produced from 500 mole of molten sodium chloride. Okay, so the number of mole is still given, and you can tell it's the number of mole. Sorry, I just hit the lamp. You can tell is the number of mole because of the unit. So you're given the number of mole of NaCl, which is 5. I don't know why I decided to do that. You can just write 500. Okay, so you're given the number of mole and you need to find the mass. Now, if you need to find the mass, then you probably want to think about additionally what are the ways that you've learned to find mass. And I guess the main one, if you really like the little triangle, hopefully you've outgrown it by now. It's been what, 3 months? But you can find the mass using number of mole and molar mass, and you can determine the molar mass of chlorine from using a periodic table, which you should have with you when you do these questions. Okay, so I would be able to work out that the molar mass of Cl2 is going to be 71 grams per mole. What I think sometimes students forget is the actual unit of molar mass, which is the amount of mass in grams per 1 mole. So that's the actual unit. Each chlorine atom is 35.5, so 2 of that's 71. All right, so if I can find the number of mole of Cl2, I should be able to find the mass with no problem. This is just an extra step compared to the 2 questions that we did prior. All right, so again, from equation, I can have the number of mole of chlorine. This is just a choice, you don't necessarily have to do it, but if you put the unknown on the numerator, then you should have an easier time rearranging the equation. So the ratio between these 2 species for a complete reaction is 1 to 2. 1 Cl2 is required, will be produced from 2 mole of sodium chloride. So the number of mole of Cl2 is going to be a half times the number of mole of NaCl, which is a half times this, so a half times 5 times 10 to the 12, 2, which is going to be 250 mole. It's quite a lot. All right. So that's not the final answer because the question asked for mass. So now I need to find the mass using the number of mole. Now, if you're going to go with the triangle, or in the future, hopefully just remember it, then it's just number of mole times molar mass. So I'm just going to write the number of mole times molar mass. So 250 times 71. Should have just enough room. I wanted to do this calculation by hand, by the way. So I think I wanted 2 significant figures. I don't have it here, but I wrote it in the worksheet. So 1.8 times 10 to the 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 unit is important, is gram. You will be penalized if you don't include unit, especially if the question doesn't ask a specific unit. That's the answer to question 4, just one extra step.